Emotional Intelligence Practical Tips to Boost Your EQ. Written by Adrian Tweely. Narrated by Weston Gritt. Introduction. Emotional intelligence is a term that refers to the ability an individual possesses when it comes to perceiving, evaluating, as well as controlling their emotions. It tends to be innate, meaning every individual is born with it. Through studies, it is thought that with certain tips on enhancing your mind power, an individual can master the art of learning and also strengthening their emotional intelligence. There are several things that constitute the broad spectrum of emotional intelligence. When you set out to find what it is, there are a few things that you will discover. Emotional intelligence can be used for a number of things. Mastering it can better so many facets of our individual life. When you have mastery of it, one tends to become more self-aware. This self-awareness also translates into better self-management. The key to becoming more connected with your emotions is to ensure that whatever you are feeling, you name it appropriately. This means, if you are angry, do not mistake it for sadness. Accurately identifying the emotion. You should then go ahead to attribute that particular emotion with the source that caused it. This is to ensure that you do not take out your emotions on the wrong sources. The next thing would be to curb yourself from acting out because of your emotions. This helps you in fostering emotional maturity. It also enables you to identify both your strengths and your weaknesses when it comes to your emotional intelligence. Another thing that you would have to keep in mind when you are trying to understand what emotional intelligence is would be figuring out what causes emotions in the first place. Understanding all the psychological factors that come into play when your emotions are being formed are one way of enabling yourself to learn how to exploit those very emotions to work towards your personal development. Managing your emotions as well as your behavior in a better manner is also a key in learning about emotional intelligence. This will involve improving how you self-regulate yourself. You would also have to learn how to manage your frustrations in a smarter way, as this would be one of the ways emotional intelligence would help you to reach your goals you have set. Interacting better with people also helps an individual in enhancing their emotional intelligence. The stronger it is, the easier you find relating to other people. It not only makes an individual more empathetic, but you also start identifying better with people. One way you can try and improve it when it comes to interactions with other people is by trying to become a better listener. This enables you to connect with the emotions that you are feeling, and in turn, you are better equipped at reacting to them in the appropriate manner. Having a better understanding of what is emotional intelligence will have an overall positive effect on your life. 1. What is emotional intelligence? Everyone knows, at least vaguely, about general intelligence, or IQ. But what about emotional intelligence, or EI? For the vast majority of us, emotional intelligence is more important to our lives than IQ. Your EI, or emotional intelligence, is the level of your ability to understand other people, what motivates them, and how to work cooperatively with them. Today, our success among our peers and in our careers depends on our ability to interpret the signals from the people around us and to react appropriately. Emotional intelligence, or EI, is the ability to assess, understand, and control emotions. A person with a high level of emotional intelligence practices self awareness and is conscientious of the direct effect feelings have on behavior. Emotional intelligence can be broken into 5 main categories that every individual should attempt to master. Self awareness. Developing EI requires that an individual be self aware. Self awareness is learning to monitor thoughts, beliefs, motives, and actions. It involves actively reflecting on your character, which in turn informs a person of who they are. Understanding your character means that you know what you believe in and what you are willing to fight for. You are able to identify circumstances that will bring you joy and those that will cause distress. You are able to articulate the occurrence of various emotions, including, but not limited to, sadness, confusion, happiness, and excitement. Also, you are able to recognize behaviors that are typical of your personality. Before a person can read another person's emotions, they should be able to read their own. Self-awareness requires an individual to be aware of his or her own emotions and be able to manage them. For example, a self-aware individual who finds himself fidgeting may recognize that they are nervous and begin to take steps to calm himself down. This self-awareness also encompasses self-confidence, which is always helpful when negotiating your way through interpersonal communication. Self-regulation. While no one will have complete control over their emotions that they experience, some can control how long these emotions last. Self-regulation is the ability to alleviate negative emotions such as anger or anxiety. The individual is able to take a breath and review his or her situation in a more positive light. People who have mastered self-regulation are able to control any negative impulses, have personal standards of integrity, take responsibility for their actions, and are able to adapt to new situations. Motivation. An emotionally intelligent individual will have personal goals and be able to recognize that others also have their own goals. They achieve any of these. A person needs to be motivated to improve himself, ready to take advantage of opportunities, and be optimistic. A person with a high emotional intelligence will be able to balance his own goals with the goals of organizations that he is involved with. This can include the workplace, volunteer organizations, and even friend circles. Empathy. This is the ability to discern the feelings or motivations behind another person's signals. This will also determine which signals you need to send them in return. An empathetic person will be able to anticipate another's needs, be able to bolster the abilities of their coworkers, read a person or group's emotional state, and understand the power dynamic in relationships or groups. Social skills. A well-developed set of interpersonal skills is important to success in both personal relationships and career. People with good social skills are able to persuade others, send clear messages, guide others, manage change, resolve disagreements, and build bonds with others. Emotionally intelligent people have good social skills and are excellent at building and maintaining relationships. When you are highly emotionally intelligent, you no longer focus on your own success first, and you always have others' best interests in mind. You always promote an environment where people cooperate with each other instead of compete with one another, and you always help others develop and grow. Of course, not everyone will have an inherently high EQ. The aspects and skills that make up a high emotional intelligence, however, can be learned. Every person can learn to recognize and regulate their emotions, and to react appropriately in group dynamics. The process often requires not only interaction with others, but self-reflection. As you learn how to read yourself and control your own negative emotions, you will naturally become better at reading the people around you and responding to their signals, and navigating the waters of any social situation. 2. The importance of emotional intelligence. Many people are not completely aware of how important emotional intelligence is in their lives. We attempt to read many books and articles about this matter just for the knowledge, but we ignore the fact that if we apply emotional intelligence in our daily life and work, it could lead us to somewhere else that we never expected. The key skills of emotional intelligence could be learned by anyone, at any time. Imagine if you are able to overcome, control, and get over your daily life stress with just being emotionally aware of everything that goes right there around you. Emotional intelligence could be summarized in the ability to express your emotions and to control them at the same time, understand, and interpret to others' feelings. There are 4 easy steps that can lead you to emotional intelligence you always wished you have. The first one is sensing the emotions. You should concentrate and accurately perceive the message someone tries to tell you. This actually involves not only understanding the person's intended words, but also watching the nonverbal signs, body language, and facial expressions. The second one is reasoning with emotions. We should use our emotions to promote thinking. Emotions help in prioritizing what we pay attention and react to. This means that emotions play a very big part in guiding our minds to believing things that might or might not happen. We naturally react to things that attract our minds. The third one is understanding emotions. Emotions may carry whole different meanings at many times. Some people can express their anger in an indirect way. This can actually be very obvious in the example of the angry boss. He can scream, shout, and give you a very hard time just because he has an issue related to your work, or he experienced a bad morning with his wife. We should never get confused in understanding the reasons behind people's reactions, and that's why training yourself to have emotional intelligence can help you in this matter. The fourth and last one is managing emotions. The ability to manage your emotions. Emotions are valuable and offer a bounty of benefits. Once we're able to process and cope with them effectively, we can then learn a lot about ourselves and our needs. If you feel something, let it out. Do not engage yourself in another action, hoping you can distract your feelings. This can lead you to many problems. Managing and controlling your emotions and feelings are very important. It is a step towards reaching the emotional intelligence of knowing how to perfectly understand people around you with the least words and actions they make. Some people see emotional intelligence as an inborn characteristic, and others say it could be learned and strengthened. As for me, I can definitely say that it can easily be learned and practiced. You may face some difficulties at first, but with trying many times, it will at the end easily work. Despite the fact that emotional intelligence lacks the volume of quantitative empirical cognitive research that IQ has, the research in the field of cognitive learning has suggested that emotional intelligence is a key fundamental aspect of learning. According to a report, the level of success that a student has learning new material boils down to their individual levels of confidence, self-control, curiosity, their ability to communicate, their cooperativeness, their elatedness, and their intentionality. All these traits are aspects of emotional intelligence. More recently, social scientists began to uncover the relationship of emotional intelligence to other organizational psychologies, such as leadership, group performance, individual performance, interpersonal exchange, performance evaluations, and change management. Humans are social beings, and as such, our level of success when dealing with people is intimately linked with our level of emotional intelligence. Improving your level of emotional intelligence. Researchers and scientists see the intelligence quotient, also known as IQ, as fixed, meaning that it does not change throughout one's lifetime. EI differs greatly from IQ, in that EI can be improved through a combination of life experience, maturity, conscious thought, and perseverance. You can improve your level of emotional intelligence by doing the following. 1. Think back to the most recent time you can think of when you had hurt somebody's feelings, and analyze what your reactions were at the time, and analyze what you said that inflicted emotional pain on the other person. Try to put yourself in the other person's shoes and empathize with them and their feelings as you said these words. In this drill, you will effectively increase your understanding of empathy, thereby increasing your level of emotional intelligence as a result. 2. Instead of finding fault with others, develop a mindset of positive thoughts and try to seek positive solutions on a given problem. Remember that everyone you deal with is human, and as humans, we make mistakes. Also, by being human, we have the ability to learn from our mistakes, and by creating a positive attitude, we can effectively coach other people and ourselves to move forward instead of blaming other people for events or mistakes. 3. Realize that in order to succeed in the game called life, it becomes necessary to have a high level of interpersonal communication with those around you. You are, for the most part, helpless without other people to help you along the way. By better understanding their emotional needs, you will be able to communicate with them more effectively and more accurately, thus paving the way to your own personal success. In conclusion, emotional intelligence is one's ability to understand their emotions and also the emotions of the people that are around them. The emotionally intelligent person makes each day of their life a lesson in emotional intelligence, and it is their goal to increase their level of emotional intelligence each day as they communicate with other people around them and themselves. 3. Facts about emotional intelligence. So why is it important that we understand emotional intelligence? Are there different kinds of emotional intelligence? Is there a difference between men and women, or between people of different ages, or people doing different kinds of jobs. The key information, summarized below, is the result of many studies, documented in books, research papers, and case studies during the last few years. Emotional intelligence can be learned and developed. There are now several different ways to teach and learn about emotional intelligence. Whatever your current level, with the right supports, activities, and commitment, you can improve it. Unlike your cognitive intelligence, or IQ, which peaks around age of 17 and stays constant throughout most of your life until it declines in old age, your emotional intelligence can be improved at any age in life. Increases with life experience. Research confirms that emotional intelligence increases with age, peaks in the age group 40 to 49, and then levels out. This could imply that after the age of 49, few new experiences add to or enhance our emotional intelligence. However, I prefer to think that learning about ourselves is a lifelong task. Research using the Multi-Factor Emotional Intelligence Scale, or the MEIS, also suggests that it improves with age, increasing between young adolescence and early adulthood. Everyone's needs are different. We all live among other people, in our family, community, or place of work. And being able to understand, interpret, and use the emotional content of life is useful for all of us. However, different jobs may require different levels and aspects of emotional intelligence. For instance, if you work in a job which involves a high degree of contact with other people, you may need more of an ability to manage emotions. Whereas, if you are a counselor, you may need a higher ability to understand your own emotions. There are some differences between men and women. When inventory was used in as a study of 7,700 men and women, it was found that, whilst there was no difference between men and women on total EQ, or emotional quotient, women scored higher on all three interpersonal abilities: empathy, interpersonal relationship, and social responsibility. Men scored higher on interpersonal dimensions. For example, self-actualization, assertiveness, stress management, stress tolerance, impulse control, and adaptability. For example, reality testing and problem solving. Women are more aware of emotions, demonstrate more empathy, relate better interpersonally, and act with more social responsibility than men. On the other hand, men appear to have better self-regard, are more independent, cope better with stress, are more flexible, solve problems better, and are more optimistic than women. Being emotionally intelligent adds to your general intelligence. Whether you're being systematic about buying your groceries in a supermarket, or being organized about setting and achieving a business plan, or even your life goals, you need a good IQ. When solving a problem, being realistic about what is achievable involves some practical knowledge. Focusing on emotional intelligence doesn't mean throwing out the guidelines and structures that you learned a long time ago to help organize your day-to-day life. An awareness of the emotional aspects of what is happening will add to the abilities measured by IQ. Emotional intelligence is not an oxymoron. An oxymoron is a word or phrase that brings together two contradictory ideas, such as bittersweet or living death. Within what might appear a contradiction, emotional intelligence lies the depth of the concept of EI. It involves both the process of turning into your emotions, sometimes regarded as the soft stuff, and the need to be analytical about emotions and learn new skills in a hard, analytical way. Both are necessary if you are to make good decisions. The hard science of underpinning it. The fields of neurology, medicine, and psychology have all contributed and added to our understanding of emotions and the role of emotions in staying healthy. Affects our ability to make decisions. We make most of our decisions through our emotions, whether we think so or not. Therefore, it is useful for making good decisions. Reflected in relationships. This is the area where you generally observe, at close hand, people with emotional intelligence. They tend to enjoy close relationships and are comfortable with themselves and with others. Measurable. Numerous studies have been conducted which prove that a focus on emotional intelligence has benefits to health, business success, and relationships. The benefits they found include reduced blood pressure, higher levels of personal productivity and team effectiveness, and these benefits are sustained 6 months after people are taught the techniques. 4. The benefits of emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is a skill in which you examine what you are feeling and why you feel a particular way in a given situation. Developing a high level of EI is a skill that would benefit adults in any occupational field. The ability to examine closely your emotions and thoughts before making decisions or responding verbally leads to more successful work and home environments and to healthier people. The first component of exercising a positive EI is to ask yourself what you are feeling at the time. Knowing what emotions are at the surface of your mind before reacting will help you to respond positively and decrease the chances of prolonging or intensifying issues. Let us consider a possible work scenario. A staff meeting has been scheduled and is set to begin, but several employees have not reported to the conference room. The human resources manager is standing at the front of the room, ready to present information as the tardy employees enter the meeting boisterously. They do not apologize to the group for being late or for their disruptive entrance. Fortunately, this HR manager has a highly developed EI and recognizes that he must act. First, he acknowledges that he is slightly angry, but he also understands that anger is a secondary emotion and not the emotion he wants to respond with. Instead, he admits to himself that he is hurt and disappointed that a small group of individuals chose to disrespect him, their coworkers, and exhibited disregard for their work responsibilities. Acknowledging and accepting the hurt and anger allows the HR manager to put these emotions aside until they may be addressed in the proper setting with the appropriate individuals, and returns his focus to conducting the staff meeting successfully as planned. Emotional intelligence has equipped him to face emotions in a healthy manner. He rules his emotions. They do not rule him. This principle applies to performing his work tasks as well as interacting with colleagues. Practicing EI is also beneficial to maintaining healthy, positive interpersonal relationships at home and with work colleagues. Individuals who are self-aware and consider how their beliefs and behaviors affect interactions with others generally have better relationships. Let us consider this interaction between peers. An office assistant is seated at the table in the employee lounge. A colleague approaches and places a stack of papers on the table directly in front of her. The colleague explains her inability to complete the assignment and states that she needs the office assistant to complete and submit it. The office assistant is emotionally mature and immediately begins to analyze her emotions. Her initial response is anger about her colleague's chosen approach. Then, she recognizes confusion over her role in the potential assignment. Lastly, she realizes she's hurt because her colleague did not extend common courtesy in a greeting or in making the request. With knowledge and acceptance of these emotions, the office assistant is prepared to move forward with an emotionally stable approach. As an emotionally intelligent adult, the office assistant is aware that how she responds will determine the success of the relationship and the work project. She responds by acknowledging a relationship exists between them by offering a greeting, and then inquires as to the specifications of her participation. The office assistant successfully addressed her emotions and diverted the possibility of a conflict between herself and her coworker. Emotional intelligence or maturity leads to happier, healthier, and more successful careers and personal lives. Forming the habit of identifying and analyzing the validity of your emotions before deciding on a course of action is a skill that all adults should acquire. It improves communication and promotes understanding. It assists in problem solving and increases productivity. Emotional intelligence reduces stress and, as a result, stimulates better physical health. Emotionally intelligent individuals are more peaceful and interact calmly with others, thus inspiring peaceful work and home environments. Real-life benefits of a high emotional intelligence. Most of us call it gut feeling, but now psychologists are calling those feelings emotional intelligence, or EI. Emotional intelligence is something like your IQ. Your IQ score doesn't tell you how much you know. It simply tells you what your capacity to learn and comprehend is. Your EI is a tad trickier to measure, and there is a great deal of disagreement on how it should be done. However, scientists can agree that in general, people who have a high EI, meaning they can identify their own emotions and the emotions of others, tend to have certain behaviors. Here's a quick list of some of those behaviors. 1. Adaptability. Developing emotional intelligence allows an individual to understand the emotions or motives of others, and as a result, they are more willing to adapt to a situation than a person who only understands what they personally are feeling. 2. Managing emotions in others. Understanding the emotions in others is a key leadership trait which allows the person with high EI to influence others. Understanding needs and feelings lends itself to developing courses of action that will fulfill those needs, and at the same time, accomplish what the leader wants accomplished. 3. Emotional control. Persons with a high EI understand their own emotions and can analyze them rationally. So when they experience frustration or fear or anger, they are less likely to react to them instinctively and are more likely to act in a controlled and informed manner. 4. Less impulsive. High EI means bad news for marketers who depend on impulsive buys. People with high EI don't react impulsively, but rather look at their feelings and make rational decisions without the interference of overwhelming emotional pull. 5. Strong relationships. Maybe one of the greatest advantages of elevated emotional intelligence is the ability to enter into the sustained strong and fulfilling relationships. Being able to understand and appreciate the emotions of others and not being driven by a me first need can result in more satisfying and less conflictive interactions with the people around you. 6. More optimistic. Face it, we live in a culture that sees the glass half empty more than we see it half full. High EI develops high self-esteem, which in turn gives the person the confidence to see the brighter side, even in difficult situations. 7. Better stress management. Precisely because they have more self-esteem, self-confidence, and an optimistic viewpoint of life, people with developed EI can handle more stress and pressure than others. Being able to identify stress points, not as threats, but simply as challenges to be met, changes the nature of the stress to a manageable condition. There are obvious advantages to developing emotional intelligence, but there are also arguments over how that can be done. Some say it is simply an innate skill that you are born with. Others say you can improve it through training programs like emotional intelligence workshops. Whatever the answer is, it's obvious that understanding ourselves and the emotions of others has a distinct advantage in communications, relationships, and personal behavior. 5. How to improve emotional intelligence. The steps on how to develop your emotional intelligence. The term emotional intelligence, shortened as EI, has something to do with the skill, the capability, or aptitude to single out, evaluate, and deal with one's emotions and the emotions of other people. Contrasting propositions as to how emotional intelligence should be defined and used in the different fields of interest are still on the spotlight. Nevertheless, regardless of the differing definition and usage of the notion of emotional intelligence in certain subject matters, of which is deemed purely technical, still, the term's etymology can be drawn from one of the works of Charles Darwin, particularly on the relevance of emotional expression for subsistence or survival, and second, adaptation. Developing emotional intelligence can be very beneficial for those working with people, especially when in the role of leadership or cooperative group situations. Having a high level of emotional intelligence is synonymous with having good people skills. There are some people who just get along well with others. They are great at listening, solving problems, and always know just what to say and how to say it, regardless of what position they may find themselves in. By nature, they are kind, considerate, and compassionate people, whom other people flock to. In addition to working well with others, people with high levels of emotional intelligence are also good at controlling their own emotions. Even when they are placed in stressful situations, they know how to keep their cool and maintain a positive outlook in order to get the job done. They look honestly at themselves and take criticism well and use it productively to improve themselves and their work. If this does not sound like you, but you wish it did, you need not worry. There are many ways that one can actively work on developing emotional intelligence, so that they will be more of an asset in the workplace. If you are interested in developing your emotional intelligence, you should start by identifying where it is that you are currently and where you would like to be. Start observing how it is that you react to others. Look honestly at how you think and interact with other people. If you find that you are quick to harshly judge or stereotype others, take some time to put yourself in their shoes, and this should help you to be more open and accepting of their individual needs and views. Think critically of your actions in the workplace. Do you constantly seek attention and approval for a job well done? Try to practice being a bit more humble. This sends across the message that you are strong and confident. Instead of always trying to have the focus be all on you, try giving others an equal opportunity to shine. It is much better to give praise than only receive it. This is a great way to work on building and developing emotional intelligence. Closely examine how it is that you react when you are placed in a stressful situation. If you become overly upset, lash out, or try to place the blame all on others, you may need to work on developing emotional intelligence. Being able to remain calm and maintain personal control in difficult situations is a highly valued character, both in the business world and outside of it. You need to learn to keep your emotions in check, even when things do not go as planned. Another way to work on developing emotional intelligence is to take responsibility for your own actions. When you do something wrong and upset someone, do not try to avoid the situation and sweep it under the rug. Instead, you should approach them directly and offer an apology. This will make people want to work with you more. Emotional intelligence is a key element to working well with others, and many employers hold it in high regards when considering job applicants. Developing emotional intelligence will serve you well in both the workplace and in everyday life. So much with defining the concept of emotional intelligence. Let us deal now with how to improve an individual's emotional intelligence. It is conspicuously empirical. The individuals having high EI have higher and better chances of attaining success in all the aspects of life. Before you begin to take emotional intelligence tests, consider some of the principles that are in a way helpful to ameliorate the EI of a person. It is expected that after pursuing this article, all the ideas embedded in here will be incorporated to the readers as their own. 1. Deference. This word is not merely a string of linguistic symbols associated with sounds and conveys a meaning. It is more than how it is being delineated in dictionaries and encyclopedia. It is not something one can acquire from drastic means, but is achievable through the course of time. Unless people will not manifest it to others, this remains an empty concept. Respect is one strong foundation of developing one's EI. If you want others to respect you, you have to learn first how to respect their feelings or emotions. In doing so, mutual deference is then built up. The Golden Rule emphasizes that do unto others what you want others do unto you. When your office mate is in big trouble, regardless of whatever problem that may be, you should show empathy and compassion and try to find feasible solutions that can alleviate his or her problem. If your friend has a different belief because of his religious affiliation, then try not to get into a religious talk that might offend him or her. Remaining silent sometimes is the best way to show respect. 2. Employing the technique of reverse psychology. Of course, it is inevitable that there are times when things go tough or rude on you, and luck is not on your side. Just repose if you are angry and not in a good mood. Try to be composed amidst a trying or difficult situation. Although it is easier said than done, but try to paint a genuine smile to your face every time you encounter a problem. Never go worry. Always remember that having problems is just like sitting in a rocking chair. Although it moves, it does not take you anywhere. And worrying will not definitely add up a day to your life, but it will only do the otherwise. So why worry if it will only worsen your problem? 3. Listening. The wars in history could have been avoided if only all the leaders of the nations had learned to listen to each other's different views, and then try to come up with plans that might erase those differences. Learn to listen, and listen to learn. Most successful people are not loquacious types of individuals, but rather they are the kind of folks who love to listen to others, brilliant ideas, and learn from them. Listening is one of the factors contributing to their sustainable success. It can be said that when you constantly listen and learn to apply the good ideas that you have listened to or have given an ear to, then you will become very successful in everything that you do. The steps on how to improve your emotional intelligence, which is mentioned above, can be easily understood. But building recognition on these ideas is just the first major step in doing the toughest part of improving your EI. The toughest part is living it, which entirely depends on you. 6. How to raise and explore your emotional intelligence. In order to raise your emotional intelligence level, you must become self-aware of the emotions that you are experiencing at any given time. And you must also deal with emotions that you have suppressed in an effort to avoid dealing with them. It is a common tendency to want to push down a certain emotion, or to convince yourself that you are not experiencing a particular emotion because it is uncomfortable, or for some reason that emotion seems inappropriate under the circumstances. Emotional intelligence requires that you know your own emotions and that you know how to manage them. This is not something that you are able to do automatically. It is a process. In order to successfully complete this process, it will help to remember the following facts about your emotions. Emotional intelligence is based on emotional awareness. Emotional intelligence differs from regular or classic intelligence in that you can raise your emotional intelligence practically at will. And being emotionally intelligent is a crucial part of building solid relationships with family, friends, and coworkers. People with high emotional intelligence are appreciated because they are steady, calm, collected, and secure. And they seem to have an innate ability to understand others. They always seem to know what to do in any given situation because their emotions don't overwhelm them. So they are able to think more clearly and act more reasonably. Emotions are constantly changing. Becoming self-aware of your emotions and what triggers them is not the same as dwelling on them. Take note of how the different things you do on any given day cause one emotion to arise and another to subside, and you'll see that emotions are always subject to change. Your emotions are often tied to physical sensation. You've probably noticed that the way your body reacts to the emotion of fear is different from the emotion of happiness. That the way you feel physically when you're happy is different from when you are angry, and so on. For instance, paying attention to the fact that your hands are shaking, that your muscles are tense, and that your heart is beating rapidly, all of which are tied to being afraid, will help you realize why you are afraid, and will help you manage that fear so that you can handle it constructively. Emotional intelligence doesn't replace reason and logic. Becoming aware of what emotions and feelings you are experiencing and knowing how to manage those emotions and feelings will become essentially automatic. Once you no longer struggle to deal with your emotions and feelings instinctively, your thinking and reasoning abilities are clearer and more accurate, and you can use them to work through your emotions without being overcome by them. Just like anything else, you will become better at this as you practice, and practice. When we have an understanding of our emotions, what they are, and how they affect us, we are building the foundation to being self-aware. Self-management then follows with a differing set of competencies, taking us further down the path of raising our emotional intelligence. How to explore your emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence might be described as the ability to control all your emotions and implicitly to exploit wisely your emotional reactions. Also known as EQ, this type of intelligence concerns your social life, because the challenge comes when we are exposed to social factors. Our ability to manage emotions is not necessarily an innate skill. It can be developed and learned so that you will cope successfully with social changes. Exploring our emotional intelligence means matching or connecting two different dimensions of self. The inner side encompasses your personal beliefs and set of values, personal long-term goals, whereas the second dimension concerns the outer world, more precisely, others' emotions, goals, and standards. The way we make connections shows our ability to deal with a wide array of challenges, and it might reveal our capacity to readjust our behavior to different inner and external stimuli. Emotional intelligence is about equilibrium between inner life and social life. We could benefit from our EQ as long as our motivation governing our goals interferes with both plans. A counterbalance between personal and social dimensions brings us closer to a maximum advantage of EQ. We can easily notice that a personal factor has its social correspondent. Therefore, each time we should interrelate socially, we are required to readjust our outcomes to others' values. Strategies regarding our emotional intelligence are extremely useful in job-related domains or educational realms. Therefore, neuro-linguistic programming has developed special techniques that are truly helpful for individuals who are willing to improve their social experiences. EQ-driven techniques enable individuals to improve the level of communication and to expand the way they approach difficult issues. Leadership strategies are based upon the idea that the EQ can go beyond average communication means and might manipulate astutely any audience's perceptions. Leadership is a strategy that involves mainly motivation techniques. In addition to making people trust your assertions, you need to make them adopt a particular behavior. Exploring our emotional intelligence means developing a particular behavior within a particular context. Yet the stress still falls on the human factor, because the fundamental purpose of our emotional intelligence relies on others' reactions and feedbacks. Usually, feedbacks stand for a relevant reflection of our emotional intelligence level. To sum up, emotional intelligence governs our lives, since we are involved in a wide array of social activities. And the way we come to benefit from our and others' emotions is definitely a lifetime challenge. 7. Ways of increasing your emotional intelligence. 1. Get it that all your emotions are okay. We are designed to have emotions. They have a purpose. They are our internal guidance system. We have ignored them. We are taught by our culture and our family to ignore them. Science is now showing us the value of emotion. People who use emotion and reason together are more successful and happier than those who don't. Look to surround yourself with the messages that show yourself that emotions are okay. All of them. Some ways to do that is through books, other forms of reading, tapes, websites, friends, mentors, coaches, and therapists. 2. Figure out the message that your emotion is trying to tell you. Yes, your emotions are telling you something. At the most basic level, through pleasurable feelings, they are telling you to move towards something. Through unpleasant feelings, they are telling you to move away from something. When you feel something, ask yourself, what is it that I am feeling, and what is the message? To stop and ask will provide you with information. If you are angry, it will be a message to protect your boundaries. If you feel anxiety, it may be a message to proceed with caution. Trust your emotions. They will guide you more accurately than any other skills you have developed. 3. Understand the beliefs that are behind the emotion. Each emotion we experience is driven by a set of thoughts or beliefs about ourselves, other people, and the world around us, as well as our religious or spiritual beliefs. The beliefs tend to be subconscious, although we can access them if we make a point of it. Some of the beliefs will be accurate, and some will be inaccurate. We form these beliefs from the time we are very young, when our emotions seem to be a large reaction to a small event. It is a good idea to examine the beliefs underlying our reaction. Sometimes we need help to uncover our beliefs. That is where a friend or coach or therapist can be valuable. This is an ongoing process of self-discovery that leads to a healthier and happier life. 4. Give your emotion a name and recognize where it is in the body. The first step to increase our emotional intelligence is to develop the EI competency known as self-awareness. The way to start developing this awareness is to be able to give a name to what we are feeling and to turn our attention to our body to see where we are feeling it physically and to be able to describe how it feels. In the beginning, naming emotions can be confusing because there are so many subtle shades and variations. We have many different names for many different emotions. The way to start is to recognize 6 basic emotions and initially name your emotions as one of these 6. All emotions will fall under one of these basic categories. They are happiness, anger, fear, sadness, disgust, and surprise. 5. Suspend judgment about the emotion and about yourself. One of the reasons we do not know our emotions is because it feels unsafe to do so. We have been taught that emotions get in the way, have no value, or that certain emotions mean you are bad for having them. This is simply not true. It is the judgment about our emotions that cause us to feel unsafe. It is this judgment that causes us to run from our emotions. Some of us hide in alcohol, drugs, shopping, sex, gambling, obsessive-compulsive behaviors, or chronic illness. If there was only one change to make around emotion, this would be the most important one. The negative self-judgment is destructive, demoralizing, and deflating. It keeps us from recognizing the truth, from feeling good, and from developing our potential. 6. Be compassionate with yourself. The emotion has a good reason for being there. This is a tool to counteract the negative self-judgment. Remember how you felt the last time you were upset about something, and someone was able to acknowledge how you felt was perfectly justified under the circumstances, and they were sympathetic to you? Would it have helped if they were too critical? No. So is there any value in treating yourself harshly? No. Do we not gravitate towards people who are kind to us? Yes. So why is it you would treat yourself differently than this? We are all human beings who are trying to do the best we can with the psychological resources that we have. Think of these things next time you treat yourself harshly. Replace it with kind parenting towards yourself. This will go much further than criticism and harsh internal reprimands that you should be stronger, better, and more. 7. Allow yourself to manage the emotion. This is not the same as suppression or denial. Part of managing your emotions also concerns 2 emotional intelligence competencies put forth. The first competency is called stress tolerance and is defined as the ability to withstand adverse events and stressful situations without falling apart by actively and positively coping with stress. This ability is based on 1. A capacity to choose courses of action for dealing with stress. 2. An optimistic disposition towards new experiences and change in general, and towards your own ability to successfully overcome the specific problem at hand. And 3. A feeling that you can control or influence the stressful situation by staying calm and maintaining control. The second competency is called impulse control and is defined as the ability to resist or delay an impulse, drive, or temptation to act. Impulse control entails a capacity for accepting your aggressive impulses, being composed and controlling aggression, hostility, and irresponsible behavior. Problems in impulse control are manifested by low frustration tolerance, impulsiveness, anger control problems, abusiveness, loss of self-control, and explosive and unpredictable behavior. 8. Recognize when your emotion is a heightened reaction due to fatigue, lack of sleep, hunger, time of day, or even loneliness. Get your needs met. In order to increase your stress tolerance so you can more effectively cope with the challenges that you experience in life, some basic needs have to be adequately met. This is where it becomes important to take care of yourself. The basic needs are exercise, adequate quantity and quality of sleep, good nutrition, and an unhurried life. These 4 alone would keep the majority of us busy making changes, and they are extremely worthwhile. 9. Express your emotion by talking or journaling or talking respectively to the person who impacted you. Part of management is the expression, the action. Expression of emotion is going to come out whether we like it or not. If we do not know how to do it in a healthy way, it will get expressed by pain and illness in the body, or by blowing up at a family member, friend, or even the store clerk. When the emotion is in response to another person's actions, the expression usually needs to take place in the form of telling that person how their actions have impacted you and how you would like to remedy the situation. However, direct, honest, and respectful communication is the key. Verbal and written expression of emotion has been shown to reduce visits to the doctor, and subjects report an increased sense of well-being. People who journal process their emotions faster and move through any issue to successful resolution more quickly. People who keep their emotions bottled up have a higher tendency towards cardiovascular diseases, particularly high blood pressure, that does not seem to respond much to medication. 10. Take appropriate action on the message. Avoid rumination. Notice when you are ruminating. If you are ruminating, it is another message that you have not adequately acknowledged the emotion that you are feeling, have not yet determined the message in the emotion, and have not taken the action that is right for you. When you do these things, the rumination will dissipate by itself. This honoring of emotional process is much more pleasant and organic of a way of ceasing rumination. 8. Emotional intelligence and its role in personal relationships. Emotional intelligence is the ability within a person to control and perceive emotions. It therefore happens to play an important role in our relationships. One makes and breaks during the course of his lifetime. Relationships may develop when two people find each other interesting, have something in common, or just enjoy each other's company. For a relationship to be strong and last longer, there has to be some level of emotional attachment between those in that particular relationship. It can be observed in daily life with ease that those relationships without any emotional attachment and understanding, and those with stakes, cease to exist. Understanding is therefore vital in any relationship. This comes with emotional intelligence. With emotional intelligence, a person can understand the other, and he can perceive his emotions and feelings. In every instant, he would know what to say and what to do, which would bring up the morale of the other person and not make him disappointed or sad. If things go wrong, the person would know how to react and resolve things in a way that nobody gets hurt. Communication, too, is equally important in long-lasting relationships. Communication does not only refer to speaking. It does not only mean to say the right things at the right times, but also to stay silent and listen to the other person when need be. A good communicator will judge the mood and emotions of the other person and act accordingly, bringing emotional intelligence into play. Somebody with a high emotional intelligence will always have an edge in a personal relationship compared to a person with lower emotional intelligence. A good level of communication determines how the relationship will continue and for how long. In every relationship, whether it is a friendship or marriage, communication is critical. Not to mention the importance of communication in business organizations. Patience and managing stress will help a relationship work for longer time periods. As when one person is not happy with the way things are going with the other, understanding how he might be feeling should act accordingly and help him get out of that situation for a better and stronger relationship. In fact, if people in relationships do not have emotional intelligence, their relationship would not last too long, and it would be very dry. They would not understand each other on any matter. The person would be without any feelings for the other and without any sense of keeping relationships. 9. Emotional intelligence and self-esteem. Emotional intelligence, or EQ, is about being aware of your emotions. If you have a high emotional intelligence, you know what you are feeling from a moment to moment. And in most cases, you also know why you are feeling as you do. Furthermore, you know what it is that you need to do in order to change your emotions in situations when you wish to feel differently. Emotional intelligence thus makes you more aware of your personal needs, and it increases your ability to take good care of yourself. High emotional intelligence cannot be unaccompanied by high self-awareness. Thus, if you have a high EQ, you also know yourself well. It is easier to build a high self-esteem, i.e., to develop a good relationship with yourself, when you know yourself. How can you accept and love someone you don't know? For this reason, self-esteem and emotional intelligence go hand in hand. As you raise your emotional intelligence, you also learn to understand yourself better, accept yourself, satisfy your personal needs, and value yourself more. Everything gets easier when you improve the relationship with yourself. Emotional intelligence is not only about understanding oneself, but also about understanding other people. With a high EQ, you can enter a room full of people and immediately get a sense of how the people in that room are feeling at that moment. You can understand other people's needs better, and this makes it easier for you to help them to satisfy those needs. This makes it easier to handle all different kinds of people because you know how to make them feel good. We all have a social need, and as we raise our emotional intelligence, we become better at building and keeping relationships that help us satisfy that need. We make ourselves feel better, and we raise our self-esteem by helping others feel good. To raise your emotional intelligence, you simply have to listen to yourself more often. Take a break and ask your body what it is feeling. Do you feel some tension or pain anywhere? Listen to your intuition or your gut feeling. As soon as you open up to the information that is already within you, you will find out that you know much more than you were aware of before. Do not ignore or try to push emotions away. They have something important to tell you. Your emotions will help you to raise your self-esteem. 10. Why being emotionally aware is important. It is said that if you are in control, to some degree, of your emotions, you are more able to be successful in the long run than, say, somebody who is academically brilliant. How many of us have heard stories of individuals who have a high IQ, yet crumble when it comes to doing exams? How many of us have seen a soccer player put a penalty away easily when the team are cruising 4-0 on an average game, yet blazes one over the bar if it is the deciding penalty that will secure them a place in the final? We have seen it time and time again. Being clever is simply not good enough. You have to be smart as well, emotionally, as well as academically. And being emotionally intelligent is the best way to do that. It affects health. It goes without saying that if you can't manage your emotions, you are more susceptible to stress. Period. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about keeping negative feelings inside of yourself. That causes more harm than good. You need to express your feelings in a non-destructive way, obviously, or you can make yourself ill. But not being emotionally aware will make you feel depressed, stressed, and can cause all sorts of bodily breakdowns, like weakening the immune system to raising your blood pressure. Mental well-being. It also goes without saying that if you cannot manage your emotions and suffer from stress, this will impact your mental health. This may lead you to have mood swings, suffer a burnout, and can leave you isolated and lonely as you do not communicate and connect very easily, so you begin losing friends and cut out relationships. Your work life. Being able to manage your emotions and communicate effectively with other people, including building rapport with other coworkers, colleagues, and managers, will mean better work relationships, being able to inspire, and better resolution of inevitable work conflicts. You will be seen as being able to be a great communicator, which will increase productivity and team morale. Increasing your emotional intelligence is a 5-step plan. And when these steps are mastered, not only will you feel better about yourself and being around other people, you will also become more healthier and more focused in your life. Reduce your stress levels. Being aware of your emotions and how to manage them. Being able to connect with other people using nonverbal clues and other body language. The art of using humor to help resolve conflict and inevitable challenges. Learning how to use this all to resolve conflicts in a positive way and with confidence. Mastering the above will help you become more of an emotionally manageable person, and you will be able to develop rapport, increase your emotional awareness, and feel more better. But what do you think? Let me know in the box below. Let's look at each one. 1. Reducing your stress levels. You need to be aware of when you are stressed, how you feel, what parts of the body are affected, what triggered the stress levels, and what tends to help relieve the stress. This can either be something that can quieten you down or something that can be stimulating. Everybody is different and therefore has different ways of dealing with stress. If you are introverted, withdrawn, or depressed, you will tend to react more effectively to activities that stimulate you. Likewise, if you get angry or agitated, activities that quiet you down will be your best bet. 2. Being aware of your emotions and how to manage them. Having a moment-to-moment awareness of your emotions is a priceless commodity, and you will be able to quickly identify which things help you be positive, and likewise, the stuff that makes you negative. But like I said before, when I talk about managing your emotions, I'm not talking about suppressing them. You need to release them in a healthy way in order for you to begin the healing process. Meditation and being in the now is a great way of releasing negativity, as well as negativity is that of the ego and not of the soul. Conversely, if you are very angry, it may be worthwhile to buy a punch bag, and when you get home, punch some wind. Learning to release your negative emotions in a safe and constructive way is a great way to reclaim your peace of mind, as well as resolve and improve relationships. 3. Being able to connect with other people using nonverbal clues and other body language. Nonverbal communication makes up for about 70% of all of the total conversation. So it makes sense to try to master the nonverbal clues, such as breathing, facial expressions, and tone, to name a few. Reading about NLP and body language will also be of extreme help. As always, to be a great communicator and rapport developer, try to remain eye contact and keep your breathing at the same pace as theirs, unless they are breathing really quickly, that is. These small tips help you to develop a good relationship, and you will be surprised at how this helps with the overall goal. The art of using humor to help resolve conflict and inevitable challenges. There's naught wrong with a good belly laugh. Many of you will have heard someone say this, or something similar, and for good reason. Laughter is probably, in my opinion, one of the most underrated ways of not only reducing stress and keeping your head clear, but also to diffuse a bad situation. But I said art in the title, and for good reason. There's a small knack. You can laugh at the wrong time, so a fair judgment of the situation is needed here. But a small quick does a humor can help resolve differences in opinion, while a big belly laugh in the privacy of your own company, trying to see the funny side of a bad situation, can help you go through hardships in life. I know, this may sound impossible to do at first, but you do get into it. And after all, why not? Why should you not let your inner peace be spoiled and ruined due to an exterior circumstance? Laughing helps clear your mind so you can be less rigid and stiff in your thinking, allowing more creative ways to solve a problem to emerge. See the positive side of it, and will help you get your nervous system back into balance. Do not underestimate the power of a good laugh. 5. Learning how to use this all to resolve conflicts in a positive way, and with confidence. Let's be honest. Although we all want harmonious and peaceful relationships, battles and disagreements are bound to happen. Why? Because everybody has a difference in opinion, and nearly everybody, apart from a small minority, is right. So there is bound to be some hard talking around. This is where grounding yourself and being in the now helps. You help clear your mind of negativity and previous mental baggages, and this will result in a more effective and peaceful outcome. But don't forget, if you simply cannot see the other person's point of view, you can always agree to disagree, or at the very worst, forgive. This will keep the constructive aspect of the argument still strong, without it spilling over and causing too much hurt. Forgiveness helps you to restore peace of mind, keeps you focused, reduces stress, and restores broken friendships and relationships. And how do you forgive? Just let it go. 11. Emotional intelligence and happiness. People often lack emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence has been debated in scientific journals. EI has to cover the following areas: self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship management. These are areas that are relevant to depression. Without awareness, for example, you will not know your feelings at all. Without self-management, you will always be in trouble because you will be unable to control and manage your emotional world. Without social awareness, you will be having a hard time establishing healthy relationships with people around you because you will be unaware of their emotional world. Similarly, without the ability to manage your relationships, you will probably have lots of problems with people who are around you. All of these are relevant areas that I am sure we all need to work on in order for us to be able to improve our internal world, as well as our external reality. When EI is not present, we still feel what we feel. I want to make sure that you understand that what you feel is always okay. You have to respect what you are feeling. Are you feeling scared, angry, lonely, misunderstood, stressed out? It's okay to feel what you feel. Respect your feelings, and do not let anyone disrespect them either. If people disrespect your feelings, they are disrespecting you, and that is not acceptable. So understand your feelings. Ask yourself, what is the cause of those feelings, and where are they coming from? Have you felt this way before? Start by being curious about your internal emotional world. In this way, you are more likely to have a better understanding, awareness, and perhaps control over your emotions. Although your feelings are always okay, you are always responsible for your actions, and it is derivative consequences. For instance, if you are angry and hit someone, you are responsible for hurting the someone. We all responsible for our actions. If you are unfaithful to your woman or man, and the person finds out, you are always responsible for the consequences of your unfaithfulness. You are always responsible for your consequences. I am repeating it because it is important to understand that concept of responsibility. However, please understand that your feelings are always okay. But how you act out in trying to alleviate your internal world sometimes can be damaging for yourself. And, in fact, often we run from ourselves. We run from what we are really feeling. Why? Because it's scary to be vulnerable. We are not used to it. It feels uncomfortable. That is why. Seldom we faced our emotions. Rarely we face the reason why we are alone and lonely. Because even though it's not ideal, it is our comfort zone. And guess what comfort zones are comfortable? That is why most of us tend to run from what is bothering us, from what we need to improve. We end up becoming expert at running at been evasive at escaping our reality. Sadly, we tend to comfort in our pathologies. How would people run, you ask? Have you seen an anorexic, an alcoholic, a workaholic, a sex addict, a shopping addict? All of these are types of pathologies that share the same root. They are acting out on feelings that they have not faced. They are running away from what they are really feeling. Many times, these people will have no clue what they are really running from. Some of them will know, but they will not know how to face their feelings. So all of these examples of level of awareness are our emotional world. That is why it is important to know and understand the magnitude of our feelings. It is definitely not easy, but the rewards is to gain better control of yourself as an emotional being that you already are. These people are not technically alone because they always have people calling them, visiting them, and so on or so forth. Or how about workaholics? They are always busy with something. This latter group uses their work to try to fill something in their lives. 12. Emotional responsibility and self-management. Infants are naturally reliant on others, completely depending on their parents for all their physical and emotional needs. This dependence continues into childhood, where most needs continue to be met by parents, while significant others, including adults and children, begin to play an increasingly important role with regard to emotional needs, such as the need for approval and belonging. This dependency is an important part of development as it creates a space in which a child is open to learning the social norms and acceptable behaviors, adopting these in the search for attention and approval, behaving in a manner that is likely to result in their emotional needs being met. Unfortunately, as we grow older, this need and dependence has an increasing likelihood of eliciting unwanted results, ranging from fear and anxiety to bullying and other mob-induced behavior. This does not mean that we, as human beings, can function without others, or that we should even try, but rather that as we grow, we need to become sufficiently self-reliant as to be able to determine how to behave and take responsibility for our choices. Responsibility may seem scary, especially when applied as a duty, obligation, or liability for which someone is held accountable. In fact, it may even be the fear of responsibility that in some ways holds us hostage. However, before we consider how we are responsible to others, let's first look at how we are responsible to ourselves. Consider this. Your kids are fighting in the lounge, screaming and yelling at each other. You go in to separate them and ask who started. What you hear is a barrage of blame, which you may find yourself trying to untangle. Yet, in this sibling language of dependence, where he hit me first and she took my iPad without asking, your children are not only justifying their behavior and looking to escape responsibility for the fight. What they are doing is justifying their emotionally driven response to which they merely reacted. This may appear to be the immature response of a child, but don't we all, in some way or another, account for our feelings and responses by referring to an event or people, or even our childhood? It is true that feelings of vulnerability can make us avoid situations, hold us back from taking risks. Anger can propel us to protect ourselves or to seek justice. How we respond to a situation is often influenced, if not governed, by our emotions. When our emotional response is seen to be the result of individuals' actions or events, we are essentially at the mercy of others, powerless. So, if he hit me first, he made me angry and I hit him back. While it may appear as if we relieve ourselves of responsibility for our actions. No longer being held accountable, the price we pay is high. When we attribute our emotional response to a situation or person, we become powerless, completely dependent on the outside world for how we feel and act. Or should I say, react? Because while we may act to avoid a negative feeling, or to retain or re-experience a positive one, we do this much like a drug addict with no consideration for the bigger picture. Taking back your power means recognizing how your thoughts and attributions contribute to and even create your feelings. In my previous article, EQ, Know Yourself, I referred to these as emotional thoughts. Thoughts which elicit emotion. Simply put, if I think of something as being dangerous, I'm going to experience fear. And if I fear it, I will avoid it. But why is this dangerous? Why do some people regard starting their own business as a challenge, while others see it as too risky to even try? A part of this is logical, cognitive evaluation of the environment, and a healthy consideration for the potential risks involved. But a part of this evaluation has to include thoughts regarding one's self, including one's abilities and resources. The moment you go there in your head, poor self-esteem, self-doubt, and anxiety, as well as fears regarding support structures and possible judgment of others, all come crashing in. It is the same with every single experience where our beliefs about ourselves and others, as well as our beliefs about the world that influences how we interpret them, and through this the meaning we attribute to them. It is this meaning that then influences how we feel and ultimately react. Emotional intelligence is not about ignoring your emotions or trying to act in spite of them. It comes from listening to the message our emotions are communicating to us, understanding that these are influenced by our emotional thoughts and redesigning them. To achieve this, we have to know ourselves and accept responsibility for how we feel, recognizing and acknowledging that our feelings are generally the consequence of our own thoughts about life events and interpersonal situations. 13. Ways your emotional intelligence affects your life. Here are a few ways it can have an impact on how you live your life. 1. Helps you avoid social faux pas. If you put your foot in your mouth because you have misread how someone feels about something, then you may have a low EI. If someone has been in a car accident and they are distressed, and you make a joke about it, it is not only in poor taste, but you have also misjudged the stress the person is feeling because of it. 2. Helps to avoid potential catastrophe. If you are being led into a dangerous situation because someone is ignorant, then if you have a high EI, then you should realize that you are probably doing something that will lead to a catastrophe. Part of EI is based upon making your own judgment calls without relying on those of others. There are various emotional intelligence training activities which can help overcome this. 3. Helps to understand how you feel. Before you experience a situation, it will help you gauge how you will react to it. If someone was to tell you about a situation that they were in that made them feel a specific way, then you were able to feel what they felt or are aware of how you would have felt, then you probably have a high EI. 4. Enables you to show compassion. If you find it hard to find compassion to others, then there is a good chance you have a low emotional intelligence. There are emotional intelligence workshops which can help rectify this. You should feel some compassion when you hear about the plight of starving children in Africa. If you can't, well, my emotional intelligence makes me feel compassion for you and the children. 5. Allows you to feel happy for others. If you find it hard to get that infective feeling of happiness when others around you are happy, you probably need to work on your EI. 6. Helps you problem solve. It is worth covering in greater detail, however. If you can feel what is wrong, then you can change your attitude to help fix the situation. 7. Enables you to counsel others in their time of need. This is similar to the first point. If you don't make a social faux pas, then you are probably halfway there. If you can find a way to relate to someone on an emotional level, then you will be better equipped to give them the advice that they need. Conclusion. There are a number of definitions for it, emotional intelligence. Most people will define this as an art whereby an individual is able to synchronize his mind and body acts through mind control acts. Some define the subject as a high aura impulses, which aid an individual react to a situation. All these individuals are right. Any individual who's attained emotional cleverness creates lots of advantages in his life. It is very important to understand a normal individual has a certain degree of emotional intelligence. However, people can train their minds to attain higher levels of this art. There are quite a number of informational sites which have detailed information on how people can train their minds to attain emotional intelligence. These informational sites are very important to individuals who may be interested in training their minds to attain emotional intelligence. For anyone interested in attaining emotional intelligence, then creating a right mental attitude before engaging these acts determines if one is actually going to be successful in the art. It is very important for individuals to build up belief systems which are effective, beneficial in delivering the kind of success they wish to achieve. One should always seek information on how they can manipulate, or rather, take advantage of universal laws to effect the desired change. Contrary to what many people believe, laws of attraction are very instrumental in shaping an individual personality. People who encourage wrong mental thoughts to crowd their minds, more often than not, have a very negative personality, which hinders good overall lifestyles. It is very important for any individual to train their minds to be hopeful in any given situation, as this is the essence of not only gaining emotional cleverness, but also success in anything an individual does. It is very important to understand that attaining self-development acts in any area of life is not a one-day activity. One should always be consistent and persistent in any self-development act so as to achieve the desired success. The level for self-development success achievement will always be measured by efforts an individual is willing to put forth towards attaining what he or she desires. People who've attained arts of emotional intelligence have quite a number of benefits working for them. For instance, it is very possible for individuals who've attained such success to exude acts such as telepathy, mind reading, and even healing abilities, through the power of their minds. There is no limit to what an individual can attain through affecting power of their minds. It's only necessary for one to create an interest and a belief system that they can achieve what they desire to achieve through power in their minds. As earlier mentioned, in seeing an explanation of what is emotional intelligence, people will have different sentiments and thoughts towards different meanings. However, attaining acts of emotional intelligence are very beneficial to any individual interested in attaining any life success.